Nation, welcome back to the Droopy Whiskey Show, where I again sit with my brother Austin. Say hello, Austin.
Hello, Austin.
And today we're rating Austin's whiskey shelf. Austin has a solid, we'll call it starter collection. Or if you're a sane human being, enough bourbon. He has enough bourbon.
Yeah, I got plenty.
Yeah, where you go like, oh yeah, you got good stuff. And so today we're going to have him walk us through his collection. Yeah, I mean, I did the bar tour, and that was inappropriate. An inappropriate amount of bourbon.
Yeah, this is going to be like 1/100th of...
An appropriate amount of bourbon, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you can be like, oh yeah, you're a sane human being who likes bourbon. You don't have a bourbon problem. Like I had. That would be the conclusion.
Your video was insane.
Yeah. Well, I was on the floor.
I know! You're just huddled back in your little cove.
Yeah. That's where I ended up.
Appreciate it.
All right. So let's start with the one that you probably got first. Like, if you can remember, let's try and go chronologically.
Yep.
And so we'll throw it up here on the table gently as to not mess up the camera again, like we did on the last video. And that's really the first one you got out of all those?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So tell us.
All of them came during our trip or after.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, get out. Sick. Well, what's the first bottle?
First bottle is Evan Williams Master Blend. I believe you can only get this at the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience.
That's correct.
So it is a mix of 23-year single barrel, 1783 bottled in bond, and their signature black. $60 at the Bourbon Experience. I got this and a backup for it. I really enjoyed it during the tasting, and you can only get it in Kentucky, so I tried to stick to that and stuff that wasn't like ridiculously priced, like their red label that was like $120 a bottle.
But it's so good.
It was very good, but I did not have...
I
got 2 bottles for the price of one of yours.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is probably...
bang for your buck.
It's an exhibition of sanity versus insanity. This is very good, too. Like, we tasted it again earlier today, and I was like, that's really good. Tastes like really solid Heaven Hill, like a really killer Elijah Craig single barrel. The only downside is, to me, the proof is kind of low. It's 90 proof, but it's very, very good, and it's robust. Like, it's got a deep essence. The oak is there, and it's got a really rich sweetness. So, yeah, it's a great bottle. What's next?
Let's see. Next was probably...
You're going to have to speed it up.
Fine. Old Bardstown Bottled in Bond. You can get their regular Old Bardstown pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can only get the Bottled in Bond in Kentucky, though.
Correct.
So, and it's only a like $20 bottle. So I got that and a backup for it as well while we're on the Willet tour.
How has this grown on you? Like, do you like it as much as you did when you tasted it? Or
yeah,
how
I still like it quite a bit. It's got a little bit of spice to it, a little bit of heat, but it's good.
100 proof.
Holds up.
Killer value. 20, $21, $22.
Yeah, it's ridiculously cheap.
It is spicy. I just spit a little bit. But full of flavor. We've talked about this one a lot on the pod. If you're in Kentucky and you're just looking for something... Like, this is a great bourbon for cocktails, too. I mean, again, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that it's got a lot of flavor. It's robust. It's also, the cat is stuck.
Biatch to open.
Yeah. It just has a very bourbony, but rye-forward bourbony. Everything about it. Very rye-forward. It kind of smells like a rye, actually. So, if you're looking for a very rye-heavy, rye-forward bourbon, bada bing, bada boom. What's next?
Henry McKenna Tenure.
Have to have it. Gotta have it.
Drew and I stood in line too long.
Oh, yeah, way too long. I forgot that's how you got it. Yeah. So they've started. Well, go ahead, and then I'll add something.
Well, we stood in line at Heaven Hill
Saturday morning,
hoping we would score something. I've never had Henry McKenna Tenure. They had that, and what was the other one they had available that day? Was it an Elijah Craig something?
Oh, yeah, the B521 barrel proof, yeah.
Drew said to go with the Henry McKenna Tenure. And I did, and he was like, do you want me to take it, or do you want it? And I was like, I want it. I stood in line for it. I'm going to take the...
I wanted to give him an out, but
But
So-
it's delicious. I love it. It's probably my favorite bottle that I have now. It's just solid. There's a lot going on. It's not overly hot. There's a nice sweetness to it.
Yeah, this one conveys a lot of age too, generally for its age statement. Yeah, the 10-year-old, it tastes like it could be 13 or 14 years old, depending on the barrel. The barrels vary, of course. So I actually want to taste that at some point. But one thing I'd say about Heaven Hill is we stood in line not knowing what they were going to release. They have started like the day before. If they're going to release something, they'll post on Facebook, tomorrow morning, here's what we're releasing. Like,
Nice.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I hope to be back in Kentucky January, February, but I don't know when I'm going to have time to go stand in line.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, hit us with the next one.
Dinky little dude. Drew was kind enough to take me to his Middle West Spirits barrel pick,
Which still hasn't landed.
which still has not
Sorry.
landed, but it's been bottled. So
Yes, it has.
we'll see what
At
that
some
means.
point.
Yes. This was one of the barrels that they did not pick, but it was my second favorite behind the one that was picked. And they were kind enough
So
to
this
take
is
it.
4-grain bourbon, barrel proof, McConnell Reserve, rye, wheat, corn, and barley.
Pretty much all of
They
this.
already know about the Weller 12 if
Yeah.
they watched the first video. So
So-
let's just throw that one up there.
Weller 12.
Go back and watch the last video. Link will be down in the show notes to see how
Also-
we got the Weller 12.
Yeah, that tells you how I got all of these.
Which is, these are great to have.
I went in. I had a note about some E.H. Taylor on the shelf, so I went in, asked. They were like, "Yeah, we have one more in the back. Let me grab it for you. $45 out the door." Then they said, if people don't pick up their allotted bottles by Thursday, they're available Friday. So I scored the Weller 12 and the Eagleware.
That's how we got Midwinter Night's Dram this year. Is it was supposed to go to somebody else, and they never came to pick it up.
Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, just call me. I'll come get
Yeah,
it.
score.
I'll always come.
Um,
I always deliver. People would give their third nut for these too. So like that was a killer pull, and you're doing a great job nursing them too. Like we
Yeah,
just popped this one, and you've got
This
other
one's
great bourbon to drink too. And you're a beer guy. You don't pound bourbon every night like I do.
Well, I've been trying not to pound beer either. I try to do a happy medium between the two.
Yeah.
Do whiskey like 3 nights a week, bourbon 4 nights a week. Or whiskey 3 nights a week and beer 4 nights a week.
I like the
Idiot.
way you said.
And then these two came in pretty close succession. Maker's Mark, I was just in the store asking Drew what I need to be looking for.
Those are my favorite texts to get. When people send me pictures of shells. Like, yes, let's go.
Well, the rare breed came
Get your
because
pants down.
he brought the Russell's Reserve Tenure single barrel on the trip with us, and it was one of my favorites that he had that we just drank a lot of on our trip. And he said this one was close. I had never tried rare breed, so I thought I'd buy a bottle. So I got that, and then this was $40 on the shelf for some Maker's cask strength,
Which is a killer value. It's insane value.
yeah, and it's still on the shelf here for that.
$40.
at those stores,
Yeah,
which
I can get
need
it
to
for
get another
50 back
bottle.
home. But yeah, it's one of those you kind of gotta always have.
But I have a bad experience with regular Makers and swore it off. I haven't had it since my 21st birthday. Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's-
fine, but the Maker's cast strength is a really significant step up.
I
So
would imagine so. And then I got a Jim Beam single barrel, just because I liked Jim Beam. Before I got into whiskey, that would be, my go-to shooter whiskey. So I wanted to try something that was a step up from that after trying a bunch of different whiskeys.
Beam was actually one of the first bourbons I ever tried, and it was Jim Beam, and I was like, man, that is a weird flavor, and I still kind of feel that way a little bit about Jim Beam. But I love what the Knob Creek line of the Jim Beam profile. I'm all about. I'm gonna taste this in a little bit because I haven't had a Jim Beam single barrel in a couple of years now, but it's just so nutty. Like big time circus peanuts.
Yeah. You always would rave about the Nom Creek, so I figured I'd
Yeah.
try something in there. Lime.
Yeah, I mean 108 proof. That's a humdinger. Do they have 8-year-old? I think this is generally around. The Jim Beam Black is 8, so I would expect this to be comparable.
I don't know that I've seen them.
It doesn't say. No.
And then my last bottle is this. It's hand selected for Texas single barrel, is what this one says. Pretty much every store in town has this. It's an unfiltered, uncut Blue Note, aged at least 3 years. Each store has a different sticker, though it's all the same barrel, all the same proof. It's like 119 proof, I think. 121.1. So maybe they're not all the same. But this is going around Amarillo for sure.
The picks of some kind. It seems like Blue Note's getting some Tex distribution. I mentioned I think this is Bardstown Bourbon Company distillate. At 3 years old, that holds up. It says it's distilled in Kentucky, bottled in Tennessee. Maybe aged and bottled in Tennessee. Distilled in Kentucky and bottled by blah, 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 Memphis, Tennessee. So who knows? But there's only a few places in Kentucky it could be. And right now, Bardstown is doing a ton of contract distillation. Could be. Who's to say? But that was pretty solid. For a 3-year-old bourbon, really solid. Particularly one that was aged north of Texas. So, like, I know some Texas whiskeys can achieve decent age profiles given the heat here. Like that Still Austin Cask Strength release, 2 years old, really solid. This one, 3 years old, aged a little bit farther north, but still really solid. Is that it? Is that the shooting match?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously plenty of bourbon, and you really hit the spectrum here, too, from, like, rich and cherry forward with both the Taylor and the Eagle Rare. You've got a couple of solid wheaters, but varied wheaters between the 12 and the cask. You got craft whiskey, and then you've got, quintessentials, Heaven Hill, Wild Turkey, Jim Beam. It's like the perfect spectrum. So you don't need to have as much whiskey as I do. In fact, you probably shouldn't. But this is a great place to start. So I hope you enjoyed us rating Austin's liquor shelf. My dad keeps all his whiskey in his closet, and I'm going to literally ask him if we can do an episode from his closet here in the next couple weeks. I'm dead serious.
Play with this typing.
Yeah, right, the auto. We'll see. Stay tuned. Good stuff coming out of Texas. Y'all, hope you have a good rest of your day. Stay healthy, stay safe. Keep it neat.